A concept that plays real interesting in relation to your self-actualization is delayed gratification, or the marshmallow mindset. And so obviously, if you're not sure, delayed gratification is the process of delaying, putting on hold, or putting off to a later date and time whatever it is you would find gratification in. So instead of doing that thing that would satisfy or satiate you today, you push it off for later, because the idea is, if I put it off till later, the later experience of the same thing will be more satisfying than the today experience of that thing. And that's not completely irrational logic when you think about it. Like, all right, so the marshmallow test is a test that was done by psychologists with um, a group of kids, and the idea was, you can either sit in this controlled environment and take this one marshmallow that I'm going to give you today, right now, or you can wait for a period of time. I'm going to step out of the room. This is what the tester said. I'm going to step out of the room. You can wait for a period of time. And if you're willing and able to wait until I step back into the room, then I will give you two marshmallows. So, so the delay of gratification for the people who were a part of that study was uh, whether or not they could wait or hold out for a second marshmallow, whether or not they were so impulsive and they needed the one marshmallow right there in that moment, or whether or not they could hold out for a second marshmallow. Now, that study showed ultimately that kids and people generally, because you can extrapolate that data, that people generally, but in the case of that study, kids specifically, are really good at delaying gratification. Like, you can do a very decent job at putting off what you want um, for a later date and time. More often than not, the kids were more inclined to wait for the second marshmallow. So this is where delayed gratification and the idea of a marshmallow mindset comes in, because what can happen is that thought process, or that ability to wait for something better to show up, can infiltrate, if you let it, can infiltrate the way in which you conduct your entire life. So now all of a sudden, instead of it being a test, instead of it being an experiment, it becomes a way of living, where, I'm just going to push it off till later. It'll be better if I wait till later. Oh, I know I could do this now, but it'll be better if I wait till later. Um, the issue, or what can happen, is not necessarily a problem, but it's something that you need to consider. What can happen in relation to your self-actualization, in relation to you becoming the fullness of your potential and what you were created to be, and what's been placed in you and imbued in you celestially for you to be. What can happen on your road to experiencing that fullness is, you might have a marshmallow mindset, or you may say to yourself, I can delay the gratification to who knows when, to some time down the line. On one hand, that can be a good thing, but on the other hand, what it really requires is some discretion, is some critical thinking, is a perception of your rationality and understanding of why you think the way you think. Because the same thing that could be beneficial to you, yeah, sure, maybe, I'm gonna just stick with marshmallows because it's easy. Yeah, sure, maybe getting those two marshmallows, if I wait for a little bit longer, might be better in terms of, now I have two marshmallows. But the benefit of having the one marshmallow here in front of me right now is I can eat the marshmallow and go about my life, go about my business. And so obviously I'm using the marshmallows just because that's an easy example, but you can extrapolate or translate that idea to any area of your life. Do you wait to take the new job or the new opportunity, or do you settle for what you're getting or what you're being offered right now in the moment? Well, if you hold off these negotiations right now, you might get a little extra money, you might get the corner office, whatever that scenario may look like. But if you say yes right now, then you'll get these perks. Maybe we'll throw in a sign-in bonus. Maybe you'll get a better parking spot. I don't know. I'm making up scenarios, but the point is the trade-off worth it? Is what you're delaying your gratification for actually worth it? And a lot of times what happens is you may not know whether or not the delayed gratification is worth it, because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. It's a known unknown or an unknown unknown. You don't know. You may know what it looks like, because here's what happens as well. The vision doesn't always, or sometimes doesn't always, reflect the reality. So whatever you envision for your life, whatever you think you could possibly become or accomplish out in the ether, that thing that makes you warm inside, puts a smile on your face, taps into your joy, whatever that thing is, that vision, that dream, that desire, that imagination point, that compelling future, all you see in your mind is what you see in your mind of what it could be. What that thing actually becomes when it materializes may not look like what you thought it would look like in your head. You saw one thing, but now that it's in front of you, it might end up being something else. So the question that you have to ask yourself is, in the midst of my standing within the precipice of the known and unknown, the known being what I would like, the known being what's available to me, the known being what I can see, the unknown being the delayed gratification or the perceived delayed gratification, or whatever the reward might be from the thought of me putting that thing off. When you're standing in that chasm of unknown, in that gap, you have to be able to think with a certain level of clarity and identify within and of yourself that that waiting is worth it, that standing in the gap is worth it, that gratification on the other side that you think might be there, that you're not even necessarily sure will be there, is worth it. Because here's the other point. The fact of the matter is, if you really want to take this analogy of the marshmallow test to extremes, the fact of the matter is the testers could have came back in the room and said, hey, you get no marshmallows. So now you look real dumb for waiting for the second marshmallow while the other people got their one marshmallow and they're happy. And now, again, you might just say to yourself, well, all right, well, I'll just eat my marshmallow now, no big deal. The big deal is you wasted time. While that other person ate their marshmallow, their first marshmallow, right there in the moment, now their mind is free for them to go think and be and do and actualize and whatever else they want to do. You're still stuck thinking about that other marshmallow that may or may not be there. And so that's what I wanted to really highlight on the topic of delayed gratification and the marshmallow mindset, specifically in relation to your self-actualization. You have to be conscientious of if whether or not the decisions that you're making are actually beneficial to you becoming the fullness of what you're supposed to be. It's important to remember and understand that who you're supposed to be is who you're meant to be. It wouldn't be in you if it wasn't meant to be fulfilled through you. And so what happens is, if you don't get to your compelling future, if you don't get to where you're supposed to be in relation to what you value, in relation to what's placed inside of you, then that will manifest itself in maladaptive and negative and poor and bad and selfish and all different types of behaviors, because you never took the chance or never effectively seized certain opportunities for you to actualize yourself in a healthy way. Nothing, I'm sure there are other things, but in this context, there isn't anything more detrimental to that process than delaying gratification. And that's not to say that you shouldn't delay gratification. Objectively speaking, there are some things sometimes that are better than other things. It's better to wait for something better sometimes. But also, sometimes better is now. Sometimes the opportunity is in front of you right now, and you're waiting for something that isn't going to come by. Oh, if I wait long enough, the prices will go down. or a better opportunity will come up. So you let this opportunity pass you by, a new opportunity comes, that opportunity is worse. And so now you're like, oh, well, this isn't the right one, I'll keep waiting. And so humans have this amazing capacity and ability to rationalize their thought process. So then what happens is you can get into that mindset, you can get into that mentality of push it off, wait, delay, push it off, wait, delay, that you never step into it no matter how many times that opportunity shows up, because you're constantly waiting for another opportunity that is not promised to be better than the one that may be in front of you right now. And even if that opportunity is promised, what's promised and what's guaranteed, or what actually shows up, may look different. Don't just talk about delayed gratification. Don't just talk about a marshmallow mindset. Don't just talk about, putting things off, putting things off, putting things off, and at the same time want to become the fullness of what you're created to be. Because who you're supposed to be comes forth and materializes itself in your doing. As you're doing stuff, you're becoming more you. As you're doing stuff, you're becoming more you. As you put yourself out there, as you try different things, as you step out into the unknown, as you rise to various occasions, it's in the motion that you are becoming more you. So your self actualization is determinant on what you are doing, but in that matter, it's also determinant on what you're not doing. So if you can find a healthy relationship between what you say yes to and what you say no to, between what you take today and what you're willing to put off to later, and you can have an effective gauge and perception of what that reality might look like, then you can cultivate a way of living for yourself that is reflective of who you really are, because you're making decisions that are in alignment with what you truly believe.